So we're getting started. So looking into, I think we're looking good. So let's get started. Let's start with, for today's session, what we'll be doing is, let me do some file here, which I think will be in drive one. So for today's session, we will be learning about Node.js. And if time permits us, we'll do more about, we'll do some part of, what can I say, like a React or for the front end. We have some people who will help us if we get stuck, but let's kick in. Yeah, let's kick in. So what we'll be doing with the expense track for today's session is what I simply call an expense tracker. So what does expense tracker mean, or what is the scope that we are trying to reach? What we are trying to get into today is, build an expense tracker that will have the name of the expense and the amount. So that's all that we'll be doing, just for basicalities of the system. Yeah, sure. Thank you, Kimurkor. I can see you are here. So for this case, what I'll do is just to create, I'll create a file called just call the tracker or something like, let me just call it tracker. But for now, what I can do is, instead of starting like that, let me start with GitHub. I'll be doing, just let's leave it that one for now. So I'll be making directory called the expense tracker. So I will enter into the expense tracker. Let me zoom a little bit for people to see. I hope that makes people see. Yeah. So for this, what I will be doing is I'll start my code here. So let me open. I'm allowing it. So we're opening VS Code for the purpose of this. I will be zooming it out or zooming in so that people can actually see what I am doing. Yeah. So I'll go back here to Node.js documentation. And what we are doing right now is just to make sure that we are using maybe the current, which is maybe version 18. Depending on the version you want, you can download your Node.js file, or not file, but application, so that you can use it. You can do it via NPM. We'll be having sessions on that. So for today, we'll be focusing on just building a Node.js API that we can add an expense. We can get all expense. We can get single expense, and we can edit and delete an expense. And what we said about the scope of the work is we will do just an expense that has a name and the a name and the amount you want to spend, so that we don't want to make it complex for the starter. So yeah, so for me, I have my Node.js installed. So what I'll do is I'll just confirm here, Node.js. We have Node.js installed as version 18.16.0. So I don't have the latest, but that's not, that wouldn't make a lot of impact. The next thing on our project is we'll be using, so we have something called frameworks or libraries. So what we'll be using today is what is called an Express JS. So what does Express.js does? So Express.js is a minimal and flexible Node.js web application framework that provides a robust way of building for web and mobile applications, especially APIs. you will. So for our case, what we'll open the API documentation on the other side. So what we require about Node.js when it comes to Node, when it comes to JavaScript, we always have Node.js or Node Package Manager, which is called NPM. And what does NPM does? NPM helps us to get these libraries. It helps us get some utility functions that other systems are using. So for today, what we'll use is Express.js. What we do is we will build a node application. So for this case, I might use just the terminal for this case, depending to build the package manager, which is package.json file. So what I'll do is just use npm init. For that case, it will ask you the name of the project. So as you can see, it asks me the name of the project, which the name itself says expense tracker, which definitely okay. That is it. And then so I'll put okay. The version I will just leave as 1.00. Description I'll say that an expense manager ah, to track expenses. That doesn't sound good English, but it's okay. So entry point, I will just leave it as index.js as it is. Test command for now, I'll just say npm test or yeah, something like that. Just npm test for now will do. Git repository for now, I'll just leave it. Keywords for now, I'll just say expense tracker. I will add maybe, yeah, Node.js app, things like that. Other, maybe let me create it myself here for the purpose. Yeah, and then the license I'll just leave as it is. Is this okay? Yes. So what does this do? What it does is it creates a package manager file, which is like package.json. So what does package.json is where it will hold our dependencies, it will hold our maybe description of our application, or if uh, we have something that we want to run. So for instance, it has created what we have. So the next thing that I will do is starting with Express, I will install, so we'll use something called the NPM, which I mentioned earlier is Node Package Manager, which can help abstract. So npm install Express. So that will help us install. Let's give some time as it installs. Yeah, I see it has finished. So what's next is we'll go check it has installed a dependency called Express, which is version 0.45, which now 4.18.2, which will be making use of it. Nice one. So let's make use of it. So the next thing that we will be doing is to create the file. So the file is what we'll be running here is index.js. So what we will need is create a file called the index.js, which is we'll just use this package. We can use the terminal. Sometimes I like using terminal. You can still use VS Code for this case. Let me zoom a little bit again. Yeah, that makes sense. I think this is good. Yeah, so I can create, but or I can just create from the terminal. So using terminal, you will just say touch index.js. No big deal. Just what is there is to create our file called index.js. So for running our application, we can run using npm again, which is a node package manager. So what we'll do is add a script. So script will help us run our application, which for this case we will use something like a start. Let's start our application, and when starting, let's just call node index.js. So what does this basically say is like it when you write npm start or npm run start, it will just write this file. And So to test it is what we can do is do something called console.log um, started, so something like that, so that we can test it that our script runs well. So I'll do that. So what I'll do is, let me clear this, and then what I'll do is npm run start. So that should be console log. So it has console log started. This is what it does. It just calls this node and runs this package. So we have set up. So for now, what we have done is just to set up our application. The basic one is having the package.json file, which has our name, version, description. It has the file that we need to as an entry. We have the script start, we have the script test, which will come at a later stage about the same. We will have keyword, we have other, we have license, and we have the dependencies. I will also, in a later stage, I will talk about dev dependencies and differentiate between dependencies and dev dependencies. Dependencies are those libraries or packages that are needed to run the system. But there are those packages that are only needed when doing development work. For instance, an example is when you want to run test or unit test, for those who understand what it means to test your code. At a later stage, I think people will more request about doing testing, and we will do that in a later stage. So what it does is the dependencies helps us ex, uh, helps the system to run. For instance, Express, it is required for the system to be up and running. But something like when doing testing, you just need to do one time run npm test. It runs maybe chest or something like that. So those dev dependencies that are needed for compilation and stuff, we will be putting them under dependencies and dev dependencies. As we do more streaming on JavaScript, we'll be doing more of those sessions randomly. So for now, we have our index file. So we will go back to our pod and see creating an application for Node.js. So what we'll be doing, it says like to create an application, you just need to have a top function, which is like import express and then use the app. So it says methods app express.json, build the middleware function, it faces stuff. So what we'll do is we'll do that our definition. So we have some rules here, but for us, what we want is just a very minimal and basic application to just run the application. So that is what we'll need to require Express. We'll need to create an interface or a method that will be interface for app and then listen to that in a method. So how do I do this? So I'll just do what this section has done, or what the application for an example has done, and then we will define our methods for our application as we go. In this later stage, I will also introduce something called the node which is like it will help us to run our application without like closing our terminal. So you will just see the difference. So what does it say? Like we will need express, which is like will require hit from so we'll require express, and then we will create an hub. So maybe what can I think it's an interface which will be used, and then now for this we'll do just a app.listen to our port, which is like I'll just use 3000, and then I'll just sorry, let me just I like using spaces, two spaces to be specific. So bear with me with that. Let me just sorry. Let me sorry. Let me just first of all upload listen to 3000. what is something I wanted to run, but it's okay. Let me run again. Node, not npm, but npm run start. So it will say our application has started. I needed something to console log. Let me just check on something really quick. Log, press. So let's keep the comments coming. Let's keep the comments coming. Yeah, let's keep the comments coming. Yeah. So for this case, just to be sure that our application runs, although it's running, we just need to log on something. So I'll just use this. Just use just just so that I can console log. Yeah, we just console log such a message. So we'll keep running this, and then to say server is running on port 3000. So to have our minimal application is what I'll be doing is just to have one endpoint or an endpoint that will just return message, something like that. So for instance, what I mean here is what they have done here, which is sending just a low one. So that's basically what I mean by that. So I'll build this application. So it's up. I'll just use a cat to be easier, which is so what we always need or what we have is after doing this Node.js, what I can explain here is, let me just finish, send, got started. So that is it. So what I'll do here for this case is, so for this you'll have the app, you'll have the method, whether care, post, or put, depending on what we require for. So for this case, and then we'll have the endpoint we want to face on this, and then we'll have the request and the response. So the request and then the response as a callback for this, and then what we'll be doing is more of like just to have a response here. So if we double run this application, which is like server is running on port 3000. So I'll just do this under this, which is local 3000. So what we'll see is we'll see code started here. Yeah, so if that is the case, which is code started, we have our endpoint, one endpoint. So I'll just see, do I really have Postman? Yeah, I do have Postman, so that's cool. Longer devices. Okay, so yeah, I'll need to install Postman as we do our coding. So we'll just install Postman as we get started with our coding. As we get started, or as we continue our coding. Nice. So for this case, we have got started with Node.js. So the next thing that I will be walking through is for those who doesn't understand maybe what endpoint is, maybe what API is. Maybe we'll have some sessions or have some clues, just like an API is an application program interface where you want to have your application exposed, or you want it to be accessed or accessed from maybe your front end or some systems when building big applications such as third-party integrations. For instance, if you want to make use of maybe PayPal, sometimes in your system, you have some APIs that are exposed to you so that you will use them for that case. So that is what I mean, or what it means to get an endpoint. So for today's session, as I mentioned, um, let me just give this. So, as I mentioned about what we'll be doing, I will copy this just to be easier to manage it from VS Code. Uh, so I'll just build something called the um, work.txt. So this one, so what we are doing is the expense manager, expense tracker. We have the name and the amount. So what I mean here is what is to be completed. We want to create an expense, display all expenses, edit all expenses, and delete all expenses. So one of my things that I always want to do is start testing my endpoints is to have what I call demi data. So what is demi data? It is the data that I require or that I expect it to be in my application, even without getting started. So what I will say is my expenses, I will have it as an array. So as an array of objects, which I mentioned earlier, it has the name, which is like we can call this my expenses, which was Nguso Life, which is like, and then we have amount, which is which I can say like 50. Let me say 50. So what I am doing, something is okay. There's a okay. Thank you, David Mwangi. There is a Postman extension on VS Code. Okay. Let me check this. So I'll go to, I am in VS Code. So I'll just look in the additional setting, check on extensions, and then I'll do VS, not Postman. So Postman, streamline your API testing by Postman directly. Ah, nice. I didn't know this. Okay. So I don't know. Postman. So this one is, I think this one is verified screen. The publisher is verified owner of postman.com. So we'll be installing this. Okay. For that case, I'm just doing away from this and doing the installation of this. Let's so it yeah. Thank you, David. Yeah, thank you, David. Okay. Yeah. So this I might not know how to use, but I think we'll just use it. Nice. So let's just so for this case, what I will embark on what I was doing for the demo data test. So we have expense here, we have the Nguso Life, we have the amount 50. What I'll do the next is I've at least two of them. So I don't know which other life do we want our expenses is. If I say petrol, the government has already killed us So it's almost illegal mentioning that name because 1 liter is almost 200. So let's have these two expenses of mine. So having these two expenses, so one thing that I expect is when I am adding this data, one of the data is the name and the amount. So I'm expecting if I have more than one expense, that means it will be an array of objects, and the object itself has name and the amount. So for this case, what I will be doing is just to return this data as it is. Yeah, so to return this data, what I'll just need is for this, what I'll use, so I'll change this endpoint to be slash. For this, I'll just say, what's the name of, so these expenses. So I'll just use the endpoint as expenses. And then what I will be sending here is res, see, so I'll be sending this as maybe data, which is expenses. Let me see how that goes. So I will restart my application because like already the session has ended. So I'll do restart. Server is running at 3000. So for now, what I'm doing is not local again. It will be slash expenses. And then, yeah, till says, okay, oh, sorry, because I'm sending twice. So sorry. I'll need again, need again to close my server, and then I will run this and then I will get this data. So to avoid such a to avoid doing repetition on um, npm start, I'll use something called the nodemon. Nodemon will help us run that. Um, it is a simple script that uses for development of node application. It's just for development, not for running. So it's basically mostly for development. So for this, what I'll do is install Nodemon. But for our case, for now, what I mentioned earlier is is we need to install it in development. What I mean is we will not be using Nodemon in our production. So that's why we'll do an npm dash dash save to dev. So what it means is just to save the Nodemon to dev dependencies. Let me do that. So as I do that, you can see. So what will, let's give some seconds. That's a deal done. Let me just mute some notifications here. Sorry for the clickings. Yeah, so okay, so for now, what I mentioned earlier is there are two there are the dependencies, which is express, and then we have the dependencies which you only need during running of the application. So that's not more. So so the next thing with Nodemon is just like to use it. Nodemon your application, Nodemon run the server, Nodemon something like that. So what does that mean? It just means that instead of node, we'll just say Nodemon. And what if you want to be very sure about what we have done? What we have done is just when, yeah, no, sorry. So when we are running npm run start, it will run Nodemon. And what does Nodemon say? Nodemon will restart at any time in any extension such as JSON, MJS, or this other. What does that mean? That means if we add a line here and save our work, Nodemon will have restarted our application. So that means like we will not be needing to be restarting this system all over again. So let's put that behind. So we have our endpoint, which like it will be just sending our response data, which is expense. So for this session, one thing that I really wanted to do is we have what can I say? We have our system have a database, so we don't want to build it on a shelf. So we just wanna do things in database, and the database that we'll be using for today is NoSQL. We'll use MongoDB. So I just want to start this system in a high note so that when we are building our API, we are storing our data in real time. So it's not more about like chugging around. So the next thing that I will do is introduce you kindly as we make use of. So I will use what is called MongoDB Atlas. So this is an online. So you can what can I say? You can register for this and then follow the steps. After you have registered, we will connect it to the Atlas than having it installed in our application. So because there is a free stuff there. So what we'll do is yeah, have this. I already signed, so I already signed with Google. So what I'll do is just use my Google account to enter. So you will sign up with Google, have your MongoDB account. So nice. Let me take some sip of coffee. So for this case, I had already had project. So what I will do, let's start by kicking up a new project, which will I will call it stream live. So or just a stream. We'll just next day. I don't need to invite anybody for now. So the best thing about Mongo Atlas, you can invite people for that stuff. So I'll just create the new project, which is stream. So the next thing is create a database, choose from cloud provider. So you build their database. So we are building database so that we will be storing our data for our stream live Node.js and React application as we learn forward. So let's create our database. Don't ever choose what you will pay. Always, when you are learning, try as much as possible to get the free version of everything. So I'll just say, give me free. I might not change. You might change the region of your favorite. This will help you while doing when you are doing your application and know where your customers are. The region is very important. For instance, some of us are in parallel with Ireland, so we will be choosing Ireland. Sometimes you can choose Hong Kong, you can choose Cape Town, but Cape Town with us is a 1 hour difference, so there is that time zone thing that you will be factoring in, but that will come in future. So we have Ireland, so put Island. You cannot change this name. So the cluster will just say stream because I want to be consistent with that. We don't have any tag. Yeah. And this is what we have created. Yeah, it has created. So after creating, we would like to authenticate your connection. So we want now to connect with our application. So how do you do the connection? So you do the connection, how would you like to do? You will use username. So I'll use username. So one of my username will be, I'll just say stream. Just want to use stream for everything to be sure. So we'll use stream. For password, I'll just use stream. I will change this later because people will start using it. Uh, I'll use for my local environment. The best thing about this is the good thing, even if somebody asks your password already, you can block. So I've added my IP address to be the only one that connects to this database. Yeah, let's finish and close and we go to our database. So we have our databases. So we have our database, which is called stream. Everything is stream. Password, everything. So we can do the connection. What I'll do is connect it and choose the method of connection. So what we are going is to connect our application. So we will be connecting our application access through native drivers such as Node.js and stuff. So that's what we are going to do. And what we are going to do is we will use Node.js as what suggested. So it has also suggested that we install our MongoDB. So which will do this for just my application to run. I'll just open another new tab and use Ubuntu. And then, yeah, okay, wait a minute. Okay. So, yeah, this I will do, and I will do, I'll just copy what is there and install MongoDB. Good one. So we are doing this. Why are we doing all these connections? Because like when we want somebody to build their system, we want them to have that all-round feeling of uh, having to connect it to a database, having saving data, having writing an API, writing a React application, just to have that sense of finishing. Yeah, yeah, rather than just writing API. What's next? Yeah, so we are all doing this just for that purpose. So what we will do next is after installing this, we will be doing we will be copying this URL, which will be replacing our password for stream user. So here I will just say I will create a new file for this case, which is called the db.js because I want to it, and then I'll say dp name. I'll just say this is a dp name. So I'll save it as a string, which says replace password with our password, which is string, which we could. I think we could, yeah. Yeah. So we'll have our DB name or what DB name and connections that we want. Nice. So the next thing that I wanted to do, or we will be doing, is instead of I will close this and then where's the monitoring? It says load data samples. Yeah, we can load data samples for this case if we want. So yeah, let's see what it will load for us. Okay, so for MongoDB, so for MongoDB, yes. So what I'll be using as a driver is something called Mongoose for symbol connection. So it's a Mongoose is just a what can I say? So Mongoose is an object data modeling or ODM library for MongoDB distributed. So Mongoose is just like it helps you um, do some work easier connecting to MongoDB. So that's what we want to make our life easier. So we'll use Mongoose for this case. And then let me. So the best thing about these items is documentations. If you always have good documentation, the better. So documentation is always the king, and having good documentation is very important. So what we'll be doing is we have the Mongoose documentation, which it will help us guide us build our database, build our API, build our node application, uh, stream it to front end, or like do front end work easily. Yeah. So it says we have to install Mongoose, which is like on this case. So we'll just do npm install Mongoose. Yeah, doing that. Mongoose. I hope I have written Mongoose. Yes. Don't know if it's Mongoose or Mongoose. So yeah, what we'll be doing is we'll have physical hidden items, we'll have our schemas, our DB for that case, which I want us to pay keen attention when building our database for that case. So, because I want us to get it right, even if it takes rereading it and following also the stuff will be good because I just want us to get that connection. Yeah, yeah. So we'll be needing this mongoose. We'll do mongoose. We'll write our main error, use await mongoose if your database has auth enabled. So for this case, what we'll be using is we'll just be creating a function called main or connected to our database. We'll need mongoose and then we'll catch an error. That's it. So so we'll just go to this db file, which will have a function which is called consta. Let me call this function main. Let me just call db for this function. And then what I'll just make sure I'm used to do, I'll just do a try catch and catch any error that we have. So we'll use, and then we'll console. So we'll have this. So this is just like auto. So we'll log that error in connecting database. We will log the error itself. And then during the connection, what we said is this function is async. So just follow. And then what we'll be waiting is, yeah, we will await connection. So here we'll just need, we have the DB name. So we'll just say mongoose is equals to require, we require mongoose, and what our connection, let me just follow that again. So it will say mongoose.connect this database, which is, we'll just await and say await mongoose dot connect to our dp name, because our dp name already has the mongodb connection. So that's what we'll be doing. Yeah, nice. So the next thing is we'll export this. So so we'll just say export. Is it? So we'll just do an export. Do I still remember how to export uh, in ES5 really? Is it module.export, something like that? think it's a module that exports is equals to db, something like that. So, and then we'll be importing this here. So constant equals to require db. I think I'll just mention that yes. I don't know. Is it really like this or like this? Just you want to import more than one thing. Yes, it's like that. And then we will call our function here. Think think we'll just call our function here. For now, this is, I don't know if that is still the case. So this one is connecting. Let's see if we are having any connection. So we don't have any errors so far while connecting to our database. So I'll just log something here. I'll just console.log success connection for DP. Yeah, so that means our connection to database is successful. So yeah, so I just wanted us to make sure, because I wanted to do this connection yesterday, but I thought it could be useful to connect while streaming so that we have people maybe have some understanding on the same. So that's good for now. So what we are going to do for now is I will be removing what we call the diameter data for now. So I'll not be needing it anymore. So, and then for here, what I'll be sending is just the data. So one of the things that we always start while doing an expense or any is to create. We always say crad, crad. So create, read, update, and finally delete. So since I just don't want to just get the data, what I will be doing is I will be creating the data. What does that mean? It means that we will be having the method app.post, which is now we wanted to post an expenses. So we'll use just this endpoint expenses, which is post, but we'll be needing post. We need rec and we need the res, uh, the request and the response. For now, we'll just send the it's okay, it's okay, or create it, just create it. So that's what we'll be using for now. I'm not sure how to use the extension of Postman. I'm trying to understand. In your browser, select the Postman team, then sign in. After you sign in, learn more about open FS extension, create an account. New screen directs you to in your browser, enter your information, get your free account. Okay. Um, I'm not totally aware of this, but yeah, let me check if let me check and see if I can run this. Nice. So we'll have a post, we'll have, so we'll create, read, update, and write into our database. Yeah. Nice, good one. Let me give some a little time. Just let me just create an account. Okay, so um, David, David mentioned it on the left side. So let me just checking. So checking. So checking. Thank you, David. Let me go back to the extension, the postman. So it says is it's so it says on the left side. Okay, so oh, nice. Let me check. Nice, nice, nice. Okay, thank you, Dev. Thank you, Dev. I've seen. So well, I'm creating. So I'll be doing away with this now. So it will redirect me to this, but I'll just use the connection what David has advised. Sorry, guys. I needed to do a lot of these settings yesterday, but the good thing, doing these setups while in the stream is also good for people to learn. So what I'll do here is sign in. I'll open that. I'll just choose this account. Boom, open in VS Code. We start it. Don't ask again for this extension just to open. That's missing. Okay, loading, loading. Let me do away with this. How? Oh, it doesn't have. Let me close this window. I haven't seen any request. My workspace. Okay, I'll just do new HTTP request. Thank you, David. This is let me say just it's awesome. It's just awesome. So I'll do this. Yeah. So to test these changes, I hope application is running, which is okay. So I'll come back to check here. We have this just the data. We'll do just do this local. Nice one. I'll just send it's a get request. So just the data. That is just amazing. So I'll not. Yeah. Let me just say thanks, Deb. Nice. So the next thing we'll be doing is the post, which is like apart from creating and it's good sometimes to create create a collection. I don't know why this is not showing. So I need to create a post one. So it's post. So for post, what we are doing is sending a raw data, which is like in a JSON format. That's what we'll be requiring. So what we'll be doing is send the name, which is maybe first expense, and then the next thing we'll be sending is amount, so which will add. Let me just put 20. For this case, what I want to do is to lock to see what we are getting from the request, because what we want is what is inside the request body. So for this, when I hit this, it will be created. But what I want is more concerning what is inside this under the body or under the body. Yeah. So for that case, I'll just say request dot body, so that I get the data. Let me just show you from, I hope it will be shown. Let me just give me 1 minute. Give me 1 minute. So yes. So what I knew from this, to get this requested body, what will be doing is having something called body pesa. So I'll be installing body pesa uh, or body parser. So npm install body parser. I don't know if the current application still requires the body parser, stuff like that. But let me just check and make sure that we always have that. But for now, I think I'll share the link here. Let me just show you what we require to do good APIs setup. So we'll have the body parser or body parser. For that case, we'll call it the body parser, and then now, so that we'll be able to get some data. So the usage of this, the best thing is we already have it, so we'll just make use of it as it is. So also it allows app.use JSON. So what we'll need is face XML files and then face application JSON files, so that we get data. Yeah. So what I'll do is I will do an importation of the same. So just say import constant body parser, which is always require body parser. So we will define app.use and then body parser.url encode, which is URL encoded, which was the extended, which is false. That's what we are doing. The next thing, we face our JSON app.use body parser.json. So that's the next thing that we will be needing. So for now, that's why when I need my body, I'll need or parameters. Let me just call parameters. You will rec dot body, and then we will lock these parameters. Yeah. And then this is what we will be not having under the get, but we will be using under the post. Sorry for that miscommunication. So just making sure that our application is still running, which is okay. And then we'll be eating this to see what we have under the body. So as you can see, what we have under the params.body is the name and the amount. So if you want to create. So this is what I'll say create. So I'll just say, I'm sorry. So this is the create endpoint. We'll have the read endpoint next. So I'll just copy this endpoint um, next, which is a read. Let me just call it read. We'll have the next one, which is put, and many more. So yeah. Yeah, so the next thing that I'll do with this, if you already have the parameters, one of the things that people mention or do mention when you already have the amount, you already have these expenses, what people say is always validations. Validations is just making sure that what you already have is what you really needed. So the thing that I will do is just like we'll just do we'll just do if params dot so under the params we'll just need we need params to have first name and not but name. So if we don't have name or somebody has not passed in the amount, we just want to say like this is not a correct application. So this is not correct. So we will just erase. Is it sent? So I need to use the most effective um, stream, the most effective one. So the most effective one is just Raise Express sending a JSON with status code. So and with it's address dot status. So status is 400. Is it, I think it's append to something like that. Error and pass through and then message uh, please send name and more. So that's the second thing. So just make sure that the application is running. Yeah, which is running. So I'll just hit our endpoint, which it will be created because we don't have any validation error. The next thing we can do is just remove or not send the amount. So if we don't send the amount, it should be an error. That's why it has an error. Bad request, we just send an error. So we can preview it as JSON. So JSON or raw, okay, pretty JSON, something like that. Yeah, but it's not what I expect. So I'll just send. So there is an error. Received an instance of argument. So what I'll improve this sending. So just dot status code, which is 400. Yeah, I think something like that. Or you just send a res.send something like error. Let me just say dot Yes, here is what I wanted. Dot status code to have dot 500. So we'll say there's an error which is true, and then error message will just say please pass name and the amount. So just get this. So that's what it's okay. So it says um, error true error message please pass, but it's sending HTTP as 200. That's funny. And I had, let me check if this works. Um, okay, what if we start with the code which is 400 and then send this? Because that's what I want. Not 200 but 400. So it's internal server error. So I don't know. Let me just see. Okay, yeah. So it's status, not status code, but status, which is 400 bad requested. It's an error. The message is please pass the name and the amount. So, but if we pass the amount, which is like 50, what we have is we have it, the message as created. So the validation works. So this is just a part of when you are building your application. So the next thing that we are going to do is save this data to our database. So to save this data to our database, what we are going to say is data is equal to, so this is where now we need Mongoose setup or the schema setup. So for that case, we are going to set up the schema under the DB. So I'll do the setup of the schema here. Nice. So we'll go back to Mongoose. We'll just see how we are doing schema. So this is our little schema. If we need more documentation, we can stream to the schema side. Yeah. So the next thing we'll do is our schema. Schema is just how you want your data to behave. For instance, what we want our data to behave is we have the name, which is a string, and then we have amount, which is number. So we'll just create our schema here. So I'll just say constant schema, which is equals to new, sorry, new mongoose dot schema, something like that. Is it schema or schema type? Or mongoose dot schema or new mongoose dot schema, new mongoose dot. So that schema, and that schema, what we want is just the name, which is string, and the amount, which is a number. So that's how we have created our new schema. And this schema of ours, what we'll do is have it passed into a name. So we'll just say is mongoose.model to kitten schema, which for our case it will be expense. So I'll just copy this and paste here and say mongoose. So this one is expense schema, which will be replacing with this schema. And then what we want our name is to call it expense, and that is the name that we want here. And one of the things I will need is we can import, yeah, we can import this schema. So yeah, that's, so we can do import so that we add new name silence. Okay, and function speak kitten model. Yeah, await flavy.save. Yeah, to flavy.new save something dot file, things like that. Nice. So we will, what we'll do here is to export this function or export this expense so that we'll be using it in our system. So the next thing is, so while doing the create, what we have done is they say new Fluffy, new kitten, something like that. So what we'll be doing is to import the expenses from our index so that we'll be using to create. So since the importation for db.js is here, what we'll be doing is import also the expense, something like that. So during the creation of our expenses, when we are doing the CRUD, after doing validations that user has sent the name, user has sent the amount, what we are going to do here is to save this data. And this data, what can we say about the data? We can say save it under new expense, which is like, so we have the amount, and the amount is the params dot amount, which is dot amount. And then if we need the name, so the name will be params dot name. And we surely have our schema created, which we now need to save. So we have created a schema which has this data, and then we will save those data. So as you can see, what we have done here is await, save, and do some stuff. So yeah, that is it. So we'll just save. So we'll just say constant response that or result with, I'll just call it our result is we await data dot save. So we are saving those data. And just don't forget that when we are doing await, that's a sync await function. So we need to put this as a sync. So we have these results of ours. So what I'll do is lock results for now. Don't lock anything else. Yeah. So um, the next thing is we will be doing. Just let's make sure we have our app running. Very good. Very tight. And then we will just add the amount, and then we'll just do this, and then we have created. So what does it show under this? It shows the results that we have. Our results, we have the name, we have our first expenses created inside the DB. What does this mean? This means that we have created a data, we have connected, we have a schema called the expense, and we will check that in our atlas or so. And our atlas, what will come, we'll see just a stream, see the refresh our application. So we'll come to stream app service. Sorry. That's been a long time since I use this. So bear with me. Bear with me. Bear with me. It has been long since I used um, I used Mungus. So there's some things that I will need to learn. Yeah, so for this we had created some databases, so we'll need to see if we already have one for our system. So I don't know if we have any here. We have up to test. Under the test now, the test, so what we have here is expense, and then kittens, and then we have the expense. Yeah, so we have for test we have expense, we have kittens, and for this schema which is test.expenses, we have already one item here. So what is our next thing? Our next thing is to get all items in our expenses schema. So it created this kittens X because of what I copied the other time. So what I had copied here is this model. I had created something called the kitten, but what I forgot is my application was still running. So that's uh, that's the thing. So, but for what we'll be doing here is after creation, what we are only going to do is send this, and what we are going to send is what you are going to send is the status. So the status is always 201 for something created. Just you can read about that, and then here it will say just the data, and our data is the result here. So So return results. So that is it for create. So one thing that I'll do the next is just to test it to make sure that we can create the second expense. So what I'll change here is have here as second expense and the amount to be a little higher, which is 100, because I want to have more. I'll send this. It has created. It has sent us the response 201. It has sent us the name, the amount, and what is called the ID and version, which is 0, which is okay. We could. So the next thing that we are going to do is to check to make sure that we have that created. So what we are going to do is we will just do refresh here. And when we do refresh, we will need to see two items here. These two items. The first expenses, which is 50, the second expenses, which is 100. Let's do some recap up to this place. So what we have done up to now is create an application, a Node.js application connected to database, which is MongoDB under the Atlas or the free version of Atlas. We have created the first schema. We have connected the database. We have done the connection. We have logged it to make sure that we have our connection solid. We have also learned about like Mongoose or how you can do DB connection and stuff easily, so that you don't feel like you need to use data type. So you use a real database which will store your data. The next thing we have understand, or David has taught us how we can use Postman inside VS Code, which makes work easier than having having to install the other desktop app. The next thing that we have learned is creation of a CRUD, which is like we have done create. And create is just like you will use after defining your application interface. You just do app.post and expenses. This is simple way. There are more ways, such as using router and stuff, which we will be learning at a later stage. But this is just to kick start you, just to know that you can create your application as easy as possible. So we have done the create, which is this. We have learned that we can validate our data so that we don't actually save data that is not good. So this is the validation. We have created maybe schema and saved it to our database or our schema, which we have done here, and we have saved our data. We have said, like, if you want to return the status of create, that means like you have created something. 201, which is status code, or HTTP status code, is the best to be used. The next thing that we will be doing, or I will be doing, is the read factor. We want to read all items that are in our database. What does that mean? That means now we'll be going to modify this read function. What we are going to do is nothing under there but we'll just get the data. This one is very easily because we are only getting data. So we'll say data or the results. That's what, depending on, we'll use await. So that's why we'll put a sim await function for this. So we'll do an await. Await. So for getting data, what we have looked under the mongoose is just like await fine kitten dot fine, but ours is expense dot fine. So that's what we'll be doing and looking that to see. So we'll just say await expense dot fine. So we won't define one, we won't define by ID, but we will find all. Find will allow us to find all items. So we'll just do find to get all items. We don't need. So this one, for finding anything, we will just use the status code 200 and then we'll send it the data. And the data is the result. Let me just call it result for better naming. One thing that I need to make sure my application is running and it is running. So the next thing under this, I haven't known how to do some collection, but it was a way to create collection. But for now, let's just be faster. Let me do a cat and a cat for this URL. That is it. What does cat gets us? It gets us our data as it is. And our data is an array of the first expenses and the second expenses. That's what you need to know. That's real done for the cat. Sometimes when your data becomes more and you already have more data, what you are always advised is to do something called pagination. Get certain amount of data so that you look into. But for now, what we wanted to show is just to make sure that we have correct data. We might not do anything, but most sometimes people will advise to use something called the try and catch. So that in case of an error, we'll just throw the error or just return the error, depending on how you want it to do. But that's just to be in the server side of the wall or code practice. But this one is just a simple. For read, it's just a simple because we are reading everything. In case of any questions, please feel free to leave questions. Yeah, and our channel or from the chat. In case of any questions. Yeah. All right. So the next thing that I'm preparing is now the update or the third factor update. So yeah, a little silence, but we could. Please don't forget to subscribe. Yeah. Please don't forget to. Nice. Yeah. So yeah, we're going to the next section. So all people are still enjoying. Yeah, good, good. So the next one is the update what I always call is put, which is update. So I'll say update put, not patch, put, which is will be little expenses, or set slash, let's pass it ID, and then async rec and res. Nice one. And then for what we are going to do is just a status, because it is 200, something like that. Let's just pass for now and send. Let me just call data and just say data, just to make sure that we could. So um so for Alex question, MySQL versus Mongo. So Mongo is no SQL, so it doesn't follow the traditional SQL procedures. It is easy to integrate, easy to make use, easy to make changes, easy to differentiate about schemas. Um, but for the MySQL is where like you need the solid principles of SQL. So for more understanding of that is just to understand the difference that are there between the relational databases and the non-relational databases. So just such as like NoSQL will give you flexibility, scale easily, high performance, and high availability. But there are more things that need um, need maybe very structured. What can I structured data and structured relationships between one schema to another. So that is where you will need MySQL, because it will give you that good good structured data, and also like minimal error while doing relations. So yeah. Yeah, so the next thing for the put one, just do we are embarking on puts and express. So we just use the put function for now. Yeah, what I can say, we can put based on, what can I say, like we'll make the modification based on the ID. So I'll just be taking the ID. So for this, we'll be taking an ID. Let me take one ID. So the what I will be doing, the first expenses, I will just rename it as a, let's rename it as the name as Nguso Yetu, and we rename it as Nguso Yetu, and we put the amount to be just 20 shillings, or 20, the amount 20. So we'll be creating put request, which is like these passes, and then what we are passing here is the ID. So, and then for just my confirmation, I always like doing logs while I'm coding. So even if it is just a testing, so yeah. So this one is 200, okay, but let's just keep an eye on what we have here. So the body has something which we will be needing this body name and the amount, but we'll also need the params. So yeah, as I said, sorry. So what will take the data is from the params. So we'll need the ID from params. So constant ID, which will be request dot params dot id. So that's where we'll be getting our ID, which we'll be using to find what. So one of the things that people mention, or which is mentioned while doing a put request, sometimes, yeah. So the Podpesa usage or the URL encoding is to allow us to get what we are doing requested dot body, what is requested dot params. Without that, we will be getting an error. So Podpesa pastes those data which are, I think it's XML, but to a better version of JSON which we can get. So I hope that answers your question, quite. So one of the things that people always say about the updating thing, they always say like, can we read one item? So for what we can do here is just like we can get that expense. And getting that expense is we'll just do what we always do. Expense dot find by ID, that ID. So if we don't have, if there is no any expense, what we are going to do is we will send we will send the status, which is for phone, and then send a message which will say error. It is, let's put true, and error message it will put like no expense with that ID. So one of the things is just validating, do we have these expenses before even updating? There's also some case you saw before updating. There's also some cases where we do the update, we do the update directly while doing the fine. So let me just get, so I'll just say, yeah, if the expense is there, what I'll console log here is the expense. So I will just do this. I'll just hit this. Yeah. And we'll just get this expense. It's already there. So one of the things is if you want another endpoint for reading only one, so read one expense, then what is called app, we can create that easily by just app.get expenses. We'll put ID, we'll put it as a thing, request and response, and then we'll be doing, or what we'll be doing is just this. It's just to copy what we have already here. It's not a bigger thing. Then we just send. It's almost the same thing. But what we are sending under this data is just the expense itself. So that's how you can read one expense. So by passing the router, and then make sure that under this you will pass the ID. We'll see how that connects with the front end in a bit. So one thing we'll do, we'll just do get and do this, and then we can see we have gotten that one data. So very sure thing. We'll do post, not post, but put. So we'll be doing put, which is updating, and then we do delete. And then in case of any questions, let's comment, and then we can go to do some React work, consume this work, and then yeah, and then call it a session. Yeah, so for the, so let me close this. So for our expense dot update, what we are going to do is get the ID rec dot parameters. If it's not there, if it's there, let's update. Let's just check on the documentation to make sure that we have a kite. So what I will do here is just search put, get me that API. Yeah? Why am I not getting this? Find one and update. So yeah, there is this called the find one and update. So I like using that find one and update. Okay, okay, yeah, sure. Okay, sure, Alex. So yeah, nice. So before doing the update, um let's do what do we call this? Alex mentioned the get data that meets certain criteria, maybe above 50. Sometimes, if you want to do that, you can do using this same what did I say? This same endpoint to get it, or use another endpoint. So for this case, I will just use will I use this really? So I need to see. Yeah, I can use that. Yeah. Let me just use this. Let me just remove this thing. Then get. So this one above 50. So what I will do here is we can pass params such as such as amount, and this amount is 50. So we'll just send. All will be well. But what you want to catch with this is when you pass those as params, what do you expect? You use the same instead of creating another one. You just say this one. So you can say like constant params and then reg dot params. So and then let's log params first. To avoid me reading this database all over and again, I'll just use this as this so that to avoid reading my DB. Um, so I have that. What I'll do is just click this, and then what I know is I'll get params, which is as nothing. Why? Is it? Let me check. Let me check why I'm not getting anything. Check this original URL. Oh, query. Okay. Sorry, I had forgotten about that. So we'll use what is in the query. So there is the other params that are passed as theirs, but we have these as queries. So I needed to check on that. Cool. So query items or something like that. So one thing that we will check, we will say if query dot amount, if the person has passed the query, which is amount, we just find data that is above certain limit, above that. So for instance, for this, what we'll do is we'll let our results, so we'll just let our results be a symbol array, and then say result to be equals to await dot expense dot fine dot fine where amount is greater. So I'll just need to confirm that. So I will not close this part because I'll be needing this. I'll just go directly to here and then yeah, fine something like greater than. So all documentation that match the selector. So fine. Yeah, so this is what I was saying. So the best thing of using documentation is just you find. So that's where it says see how this is being used. So find here and then greater than, which I will be needing. So this is what I'll be needing. So greater than what we have. So for now, let me say I don't want the equal to. So because the other one is equal to. So it's going to be greater than, and then I need to check the results. I don't even need to console log. I just need to send those results. So should be one. Yes. So as Alex has mentioned, we have this. So we have the data, which is only single one, which we are using the same URL for getting all items, but getting having the query to be passed. So yeah, query parameters, something like that. So I need to do log something here, just for for my case. There's nothing I need to see. So 50. Yeah. So if that is the case, I needed just to change that. Let's pass this here. And then the other thing is I need to know type of this thing so that in case of an error to the code. Yeah. Yeah. So it's okay. It's cool. If we just put this greater or equals to and save it, we will have the two items. One, two. Yeah, that is it. So we'll just leave it as it is, as advised by this what type of this. What is type string, which is okay. For now, we don't bother about the type. Yeah. Clear start, Alex. So for this, I will just finish by saying else. If that is not the case, what we need to do is let's return all our results. So we'll just say result will be everything. Just find everything for that case. So let's not pass anything. Let's remove everything. We do that, it comes. We pass this, so one of them should come, which works. Fantastic. Yes, so we will embark. Perfect, yes. Thank you, Alex. Yes, let me take another sip of coffee. And we do the next endpoint. So the next endpoint is do update. As I mentioned there, we will not be doing the find and the finance stuff. So I'll just be doing what the documentation has advised here. Find one and update. So yeah, let me just give you so find one and update as a wide use of cases. You should use save to update documents where possible. That's what we need. Yeah, however, in some cases you need to use find one in this tutorial. So find one and update sends the first document that matches a given filter and applies the update and returns the document. So if it returns us the document, what we need to do is to yeah. So yeah, so for this case, let me just find one. So this here, so it says find one, have the filters in place, and have the update or update in place. So what do we want to do? We will only find by ID and update by that ID. That is it. So one thing that we will do is I'll just use this filter return original false. So find one slightly different in MongoDB drivers, find one and update because it returns the document itself, not the results. So as an alternative to the new option, you can use return original option, which is false, is equivalent to new, true, and return options existing in the consistent. So what we are going to do is have our filters and have our update. So and have our document. So I'll use this part to find an update. So one of the things that we need is we will say so our filters will be our body phases. So let me just remove this. We'll not need to find by ID, but so we'll just say constant expense will be let's wait expense dot vine one and update, which will need our filters. We'll need what was the second thing? So we need the filter update. So our update is, let's say, just constant update will be the ID, which for this case is request dot params dot the ID. That will be the update. And the filter, or what I can say, and for the filter, no, sorry. For the filter, it is ID. For the update is what we want to update. So for the filter, so this one is the filter. So it will be the filter. And what the update that we'll be sending here, let me just do this to make my work clean. So for the filter, what we'll be doing for the filters is we'll just pass what even it has suggested. We'll just pass our rec.body, anything that is passed in the body, you see, and then so or we'll just call it update and pass the items um, that are in the body. So everything that is in the body we just pass. We need to be careful. That's where we need validations. We just that's why like we only need validations here. But now we'll just pass anything, but validations is needed so that we don't add any other items that are not required. But for now, we need to go to the other site or other things. So we have the validation, we have the update, and then there is the callback, which mentioned the return original false, which will be the third parameter here. Is new true. So let's just use the new true so that it returns the new updated items. I will not console log because I don't want to go and check on my sorry. So it's res.status.send that pop. That is it. We will use try catch, but for now, let's keep learning. So I'll save this. So I'll do the put request. I'll just do pass. I just need to, okay. For now, let me update the second one. So when I'm updating the second one, what I want to do and update here is let me make the second expense the name, as we mentioned the other time, is nguso yetu. Nguso yetu. And then the amount we mentioned, we will need 20. And then we will send. It has already said it is successful. But our problem, it doesn't as our original. So that's why it says from other things. That's why it's warning us here that we should use return original false. But for now, one thing that we need to be sure is update has been done. So second expense, no update has been done. No update has been done. So that's fine one, an update. So we'll just add this. So let me check again. So this expense fine one using the filter. Let me just so I'll do this. No update because I don't know if because of this is it like checking this as ID as this. So let me console log filters here. So it says like okay, it does return the null. It does return the null because it doesn't even get, but because ID saved like this, that's why it is getting. But I don't know why it's not updating. So I'll be checking it under the documentation in a bit. Just give me time here. It's not before even checking on documentation. Let me just make sure that I have the correct update. Oh shit! So I've seen. So this one we should be passing update because it is already a JSON. We should be passing just as update. I think that's the issue. Nice one. So that was the error. That's why I was saying it's not getting this update because we have already have this here. So sorry for that. So good. We have our port working. So we can now say let's change this to 200. Check this 200. We can see by refreshing this should be exactly 200, which is also yet is 200. I will put it as 20. It is now 20. And then I can try to get remove this. I will need, so let me cut. and put our params that we had the other time as amount to be greater than 50, because actually we should be receiving empty, yes. And this is the case. We have confirmed what that Alex told us to do the other time, that if we change the amount to be 20 and we get items that are greater than 20 or have amount that is greater than 20, there is a problem. So which we have made sure confirmed. So the next thing or the final thing we'll be doing with this API before even moving to what can I say, to the front end, where we'll be just doing simple application and then we'll be calling it a day. Yeah, is the delete function. So what we'll be doing is we'll be finishing up our craft with delete, which will say app dot, we'll have this as delete. What we'll be passing is expenses slash the ID, which is this, and then we will have a thing, our right and our response. Yes, and that is how I'll need to do a try catch, but for now I will not do. So for this case, we will delete our second expense, which is by the ID. So the first thing, what I will just mention or bypassing is, let's find the best one to delete an item. So we'll just come to documentation, find the current delete, which we have to delete. Why am I not getting? Okay, so this is the prototype. Okay. Let me check. Uh, so we'll be deleting one only. We'll be using so the delete, declare or execute this query, delete one. So just so yeah. So we'll be deleting one by the ID. So what we're going to do is await the expense delete one by the ID. So that's what we'll be using. So we'll just say await expense dot delete just one by what we call the ID, and that ID is always under the params dot ID. I'll not do validations for now, and then I'll just res dot send. So because we won't find that item, we'll just like delete it. We'll put status to be 200 because it was successful. And then for this thing, let me put this one under try catch so that in case of any error while doing the deletion, we'll just throw that error out. And then, yeah, then I'll take this in. Boom, we have our delete function. Yeah, let's just test the delete function by passing this ID. I don't know which one is this. We'll just use delete and we will do dash. Boom, it's deleted. To test this again, we'll not even go, we'll just get the expenses, get all expenses. We'll just get a single expense because we have deleted that one. And for this final thing, we'll just confirm to make sure that in our atlas, we only have one item, which is now true. Yeah, that is it now for this. Unless we have any question, that is now it for the part of the application. I'll see if I can, if I will push later this code to the, what can I say? to our log to GitHub. Very tired, very tired. So I think this is this will be for now, unless those people who still want us to continue for the React part. Maybe sure for them, and then we can do another session. I will be back for another session. Or perfect. We can continue, like do another 10 or 30 minutes of streaming our React application, and then use our endpoint to get this. And then later on, we'll be creating a session with David Mwangi, both on front end, on the front end side and the back end side of things. And then we can see if we can have another session concerning this. Uh, there are more things to learn. Maybe testing, doing testing stuff, using just to people to understand what it really means to do software development. Not only that we are doing the API stuff, but there are more things to think about. Think about testing. Think about uh, better validation of code, better reusing of code, things like that. So we will expound our code more. So let's go back to simple React application. So we are done with the Node. Let's just go to React. React is a front end application. So for the front end, we'll just use React. Simple. What I always do is go to documentation. That's the best. Take learn. Even if you don't know anything, just go start learning. It will show you things like that. But what I want is to start a new project. What it will say, you need to install Node.js, which oh yes. So for quiet question, async and await is mostly used to resolve promises. And from let me just respond to, and a promise is just like, let's say it's something like proxy or created and not yet resolved. So if it is not resolved, so what you need is either you say promise dot resolve this, or just use async and await. So async and await is a better way, especially when you are connecting to something. You need to wait for something to finish, or that promise to finish. Actually, that's where now you need that async and await. Um, Let me just I will. I'm pushing some documentation here. Something like this. We're pushing some documentation just to learn more about promises. Yeah, let me see. Yeah, this one now is the async one. Yeah, yeah, you can check on that documentation. Um, right. Cool. Let's continue. So, one of the things that people say is, I think React has changed. So it says Next.js remix catastrophe. Wow. Is it me that am I in another world or expo? Things like nbx create react. So I think I'm in another world because I'm seeing, oh, they say this is legacy. Ah, man. No, no. This will kill me. I'm not used to next. I think things has changed since I left doing React. But what I will do is because I'll just not get stuck like that. I'll just get started even if things has changed. So I'm still in the old era. You see, I'm still in the old era of creating React application. It's dangerous. I need to start updating myself. Yeah, need to start updating myself, man. And be serious with my life. So I will use the first one that comes there. Create next. Yes, I don't. I will learn as we go. If there's things that has changed on it, wow, very true. David says things has changed. I am still back. So we don't fear. Fearing is not what we were born to do. So I'll just leave my application or my backend running and get started with creating my next JS or next application, which is expense. Let me call it frontend. Something like that. I hope that is the correct way. Do you like to use TypeScript? No, I don't want to use TypeScript. No, I just don't want to lean for now. We'll just no, I don't want a tailwind. Would you like to use Source? Because I was using Source before. I will um use router recommended. No, for now it's we are just testing. Would you like to customize the volume button? Let me just create that application. Sorry guys, I'll have to I'll have to go to class to do some learning here. Yeah, waiting as I sip my coffee. Nice one. Let's wait. Just waiting. Wow, wow, wow. This is really, really, really amazing. Nice one. So you can now update by running cd npm. Okay. I will try to update for now. No, no. Let's not waste the time here. Expense from net. So I have that in. I'll do that in code. I'll just have my React application as it is. I hope things never change that much. I hope we still have start and start will call okay, I don't know what it calls, but let me assume it calls pages, it calls this index. We have this up and this is where we'll change. So yeah, let me start running the application, which is npm start. Ah, nice. Oh, this one is already used. So one thing that I'll use for this other one, I'll just change. It's easy to change the backend one. So I'll just change this to listen to 8,000 or put 3,001. Just use 3,001 and npm start. So put this, don't bother with the message, but yeah. Okay. Okay, okay, okay. 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 So I'll just need to kill that pod. I'll just need to kill that pod. Really? 3,000. Nice. Okay. So this is a okay. Needs the PDI. So sorry guys, I need to let me just check. So I'll be using let me try use another bot. Mm, Let me see if that option works. That's by the production field as well. Yeah, things. Yeah, things. Okay. Let me just do this dev npm run dev. Okay, cool. Now it runs. Cool. Okay. Now this runs under the port 202. So we'll just do that and see. Let me see comments. Any comments? Okay, no comments. Yes, 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 yes. I've run that. So this is our application. So what I want to really change on this application is just this part that says next and have our data display. I don't want to have a lot of changes to just to show you how you can connect it to the front end. Yes, so for this case, what I'll be doing is there's the component here, there's the index here, there are all these items. We have all these local, and this is where I will just input my data for now, just to show this. So if I do this, or if I comment, I will not see any data here. And this is where I want us to display our data. So to make my work easier, David will come and run a session on React on the same so that people will get understanding because I see many things has really changed. So for me, what I'll do here is to create my page called the data.js. What this page does is just like we'll just do export. Just export this. I need this. I need this. And then I need that. And export something called the data. I'll call it data box. for this data box, I'll just write something I am in, and then I will import that data box from, why is it not, let me, let me just, let me rename as it is and put underscore and see what it is. Uh-huh. Just add that there. I don't know if that works. Ah, okay, sorry. This outside. I am not sure. I'm not sure why it's not finding this. Because actually it is here and it's not finding it. Unless there's something I'm missing. I am missing. Let me just get that's hello. I think I'll get more stuck here. If I do this, I'll get more stuck here. So let me just go back and do what I needed to do. I think it's just like things changed that I didn't know they changed because always code changes. So I'll just do this. Can't resolve that. So it is. Let me focus that issue. Let me just fix. Yeah. Yes. We should be good. Yeah. We should be good. Yeah. So let me combine again. Let's see. Nice. So I am in. So yeah. So one thing that I will do is just concentrate on this one file because I don't know where next if I do something connection it will be easier. So for the React part, what I'll just do is display, but I'll ask David to do a session later on today or next week on just learning the concepts of React. So what I'll be doing is pull data from our backend, which will in turn pull data from our database. So for this, um, I will have a function called fetch data. It must be an async function because we will be doing an await, and then what we will do is constant data, which will put it as an array for now, which has the name, which is maybe Guso Mocha, and the next thing is the amount, which might be, let's say, 50. And then here we'll use what is called the UCVec. Yeah, it's not there. A UCVec, which will have a callback. Which we will call fetch data. Just call that function, and then we will lock this data. I think I'll need more classes also to do that. Yeah, thanks, David. You yeah, so why? Oh, React is not defined. Sure, it should be defined here. So I need to import, or let me just use this from React. So just import that use evec. Then so yeah, so what I'll do next is just check on whoa. So I'll just need to check on the console. I'm not used to do that, so I'm used to do it being at the bottom. So bear with me on that. So what I'll do is just see, yeah, okay, data is in. So what we need now is the connection to the backend. So to connect with the backend, for now, we'll just use what is called fetch. Fetch. So fetch, yeah, just fetch. I don't know. Yeah, it's called fetch API. I think that's the name. So what we'll do is just we'll just do the data instead of getting this data. But now, before even doing that, what I need to do is to display this data so that I don't need to do so. David will come and explain more on this. So we'll have, is it, well, let's call data and set the data, which will be use state. Okay? Use state. Which we will say this, yes, okay. Yeah, and then we will set data as data. That's our call. So our call is to have this data items be the ones that are being displayed here, which will be doing the display here. So which will be data dot map the data with its index, and so what I'll be returning is I'll be returning. Let me just return h1 as data dot name, and then this one should be under div because they are different items, so it should be under one div. And then I'll just use this as setting 5. Let me just use a small heading is data dot amount. And then for this, I will use the key, which is like concatenation of data dot name and its index. Don't bother about the same. So for here, that's why you'll see nguzo moja and you'll see 50 here. So which is definitely fine. But what we want here is to make sure that we are getting this data from the backend. So what do we do here? So what we'll do here is just like we'll just get fetch. We'll just get uh, uh, just what we'll do is I'll just lock this, we'll just set it and then await something called fetch. I think we'll use fetch and then we'll use the URL. So what was the URL that we used back then? So we'll just go back here, get into Postman, get this, there's the get expense, which when we do, it won't return anything because we changed the URL to 301. So we get this data. One thing that we'll take is this URL, and then we will do fetch using this URL, and then log this data and see how errors. It says what? Non error. Fetch. Okay. I thought it works automatically. Um, I used to think failed type error. Type error. Let me check something. I'm not sure what's wrong unless they want the us to use a way. So has been blocked. Nice. Let me just use try and catch. That's the advantage of doing try catch is just making sure that if a problem happens, it doesn't crack your application. So we just do that and see. Yeah, that's good. That's the advantage of using try catches just to make sure that if anything happens, we have the error failed to fetch. So this is common problem. This is not like yeah, it's just a course issue. So yeah, so we'll just so for this we'll need to set no course for the backend. So that is it. I think I remember that express or send a course. Yeah. Yeah, I think I'll use course. Yeah. So I'll do that. So I'll just install from my backend, which is cd. Just install this. I can So there is the course one. We will be setting so that we allow a free item. So I think I'll be setting this course. So I have installed the course. So I'll just import course from course, and then for the app, I'll say just the app. Sorry, app to use course, and then app to options. All of them. Let's try use course and see how that goes. Okay. See how that goes. Yeah, nice one. Thank you, David. So we have our response here, which is 200. Okay. So data always is in the body, so it's locked. So what we'll just do is, um, what we'll do in our front end is constant body data will be data dot body, which body data. So I'll lock that and then I'll remove this. Yeah. Wow. Why is it saying it's a readable string? The hell? I know I am not readable stream locked false. So for this case, okay. Okay. Uh, Give me some minute. I'm seeing that, or I am learning how things have changed until um, veg. So for this page, it says you need to get reader while true done return. Uh, Wait, do something with the chunk, exit when done. So constant response, page, constant chunk, wait, constant chunk response to body, do something. So I'll try to use this. I wasn't ready for this. I thought things were the way we had, so I'll just build my data. So let result be equals to data. So I'll just be doing result plus equals to char. Yeah, and then C. So this one is response. I'll just nice. Let me just. Oh, sorry, guys, for this. I wasn't ready. I didn't know things have changed. So let's do is not a sing a trip. So it's not a sing a trip. No problem, no problem, no problem, no problem. So fetch the URL. Um, Give me a minute. So response is a readable stream. So dot body. So response dot body is a readable stream which you will need to read. Mang, any idea on this? I need to response dot body. So let me just use the fetch request dot get reader. Mm. Let me just check. Nice. Okay. Let me see this. So it gives me reader default, which is a closed promise or a pending. So when it's a closed pending, so we try. If you get the reader, wow. Okay. David, let me see the backend code. I don't know if I understand. Oh, or let me try Axios. Just brings the same issues. I don't want to. Trying to add Axios here. You test with Axios. Let's see if this we log and see this. There will be an error. So Axios is making my life simple. So we'll just continue with the Axios. So res.data.data. So for our backend, what we had returned previously is we're returning here as send data as results. So what we can do right now is just to send the results so that we don't have to say dot body or dot data. So we'll just be sending results like this. Um, same, uh, same with this data will be fine. So we'll be just doing send the results, which will make our work easier. Here we'll just send the expense on, and the same with here, which will be sending just the expense so that we avoid. So we'll just do more one testing, which will give us that data. So which we are good. So if we come and do a refresh here, we'll get our response dot data. So we'll just not use page for now. So we'll just say our data will be res dot data and see what that gives us. I think that gives us good results if I'm not wrong. Yeah, so it gives us our results. So we wasted our time with fetch, but that's okay. Finally, so we have the first expenses, which is 50. Just to avoid that cliche of looking things, I'll just need to put a name and then slash here, data dot amount. So nice. So it's first expenses 50. Nice. More questions? So okay. So for the backend, for what I'm just sending to the backend is I'm just fetching. Um, I'm just fetching here. So the other thing that we had in mind is sending the other parameters as a, which was amount, and then we'll put equals to let's say 100, and then see if that query works well. So yeah, that query works well because we currently don't have any expenses that is showing. Another thing that we could test is just to have it as 10. We should see an expenses because it is 50. So that's why we will see that our query is working well. Yeah. So yeah, I think that's the connection. So I think let me liaise with David Mwang, and then you will do one stream for the same for us. Yeah, for the React part. Yeah. Any other question? I'll need to do more refresh on this. So yeah. So I guess yeah, we can catch up offline, and then we can have another session. Yeah, later in terms of yeah. So I'll be ending the live stream. See you later, guys. Hope you enjoyed the session. We'll be catching more on this. This is our first session, and it has been great. So since we haven't have good well setup, and we needed to do more setups,